Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mangs, and today I bring you somewhat of a vlog. I know, I don't make a lot of vlogs on my video, but today I actually kind of want to talk about something, and it's related to Advanced Wars, so I thought I'd have a battle go in the background while I speak. Hopefully it's not going to be too distracting for you guys, but you know, it's always nice to have something to watch while you listen to me speak, so... Yes, what I want to talk about today, I actually want to talk about two things. The first thing is... there have been rumors of a upcoming Advanced Wars game. At least maybe there's a game being made, or maybe they have plans to make a game. And the reason why I'm saying this is, a while back, Intelligent Systems, which is the company that makes Advanced Wars, they made a thread on Reddit where one of the developers basically asked the community, hey, what do you guys want to see in a possible upcoming Advanced Wars game? And naturally, the fact that they're even asking that question means that something is being done. I mean, either they're making a game or they're planning to make a game. And that makes me really happy because I would love to see another Advanced Wars game, although the two latest ones haven't exactly impressed me much. So, that brings me to the second thing I want to talk about, and that is Advanced Wars Dual Strike. What did it do wrong? Why wasn't this... let's try that again. What did it do wrong and why wasn't it a success? A lot of people always ask me on the channel, hey Mangs, what do you hate so much about Dual Strike? Why don't you like Dual Strike? It's a good game. Of course, I might make a Let's Play of Dual Strike, but that's an entirely different thing. So instead of just asking or answering that question in the comments section, I thought about actually explaining to you guys exactly why I do not like Dual Strike. Not because I want to rant, but because I think it's actually a very important question to ask. Because I think that the reason why Days of Ruin was made was because Dual Strike was a flop. I mean, they took sort of a distance from the cartoony style, you know, Macroland, Cosmoland, all that thing, and they kind of tried to make an entire new game with the same concepts. And I think the reason why they did that was because Dual Strike was deemed a flop, and they thought it was time to move on, which I think is a terrible idea, because I think this universe right here has so much potential for more games. So, I'll talk first about what I didn't like about Dual Strike, and what I think that they should really try avoiding if they make another Advanced Wars games. And then I'll talk about what I want from a new Advanced Wars game, and what I think would actually be an amazing game. So, I haven't, for the record, played Days of Ruin. I played it a little bit, I didn't like it, I didn't like the graphic, I didn't like the feel of the game. It may be a good game, for all I know, but it really alienated me when I first played it. It had no resemblance to the other Wars game, except being a turn-based strategy game. So, I thought it was kind of bad. But enough about that. I'm not going to talk about Days of Ruin right now, I'm going to talk about Dual Strike and why I didn't like it. So... first things first, let's talk about the story. And I know what some of you guys are thinking. Oh, Mangs, it's the story, it's not important. Well, it is kind of important, because the campaign is the first thing you play when you pick up an Advanced Wars game. The campaign introduces you to the game, it introduces you to the commanders, it introduces you to the story, to the universe. So it is very important. And I'm not saying the Advanced Wars 1 and 2 campaign was perfect. Not by a long shot. They had a lot of gaping flaws as well. But they had a lot of golden moments too. Advanced Wars 1 is of course very silly, but I thought that the Advanced Wars 2 campaign was exceptionally well done. I played it many times, and it keeps amazing me how good it actually is compared to the Dual Strike campaign. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the story and what I think Dual Strike did wrong from the start. And first things first, you get introduced to these two new characters, Rach and Jackal. No, Rach and Jackal. Jake and Rachel. Wow. Epic. And you don't know anything about these characters, aside from the fact that Jake talks like a hip-hop gangster and Rachel is Nell's sister. And that's pretty much all you get to know about them. And they are your two new main characters. Andy? Well, he's nowhere to be found. Sammy? Nowhere to be found. Nell is there, but she's barely present in the story at all. And you just get to play as Jake and Rachel. And from the get-go, you start to ask yourself, where are the other guys? However, eventually Max does show up, and he plays sort of a side supporting role. He doesn't really do a lot. There's no interaction between the characters, you know. In Advanced Wars 1, you had a lot of banter between Andy and Max. Even in Advanced Wars 2, you had a lot of conversation going on between the different characters, whereas we completely missed that in Dual Strike. There's no arguments going on between the commanders. Everything just feels very stale. Black Hole just kind of shows up, and we don't really know what they're doing. Of course, that was the case in Advance Wars 2 as well, but I feel like it's the third time Black Hole shows up. They should do something differently, other than just being there, you know? It feels very weird. You get to face this robot called Jugger that you also don't know anything about, and he's exactly like Flak for some reason, but he's not Flak. So it's very weird, and the whole story starts off very strangely. So I think, yeah, that's exactly what I didn't like about the campaign story-wise. It doesn't introduce a lot of the familiar characters. I mean, Max makes a brief appearance, Colin is sort of there. I think Jess stops by at some point, and you get to see Sensei. But aside from that, there's a bunch of new characters that we know nothing about, and we don't get to see the good old characters that we love. So, in Advance Wars 2, every single commander was featured in the campaign. In every single continent, there was 2 missions for each commander. Like in Blue Moon, there would be 2 Colin missions, there would be 2 Grit missions, and there would be 2 Olaf missions. And there will always be a lab mission, as well as a final mission where you could pick your commander. So every single commander was featured. Whereas in Dual Strike, there's a ton of commanders who never even make an appearance in the campaign. What happened to Adder and Flak? Did they just vanish? What happened? They're still in the game, their commanders are there, but they are never featured. So this always puzzled me a lot, and I thought this really ruined it for me, because there's no explanation of what has actually happened. And then we come over to the main antagonist of the game, which is the silliest character ever, called Von Bolt. It is never explained exactly how he rose to power. Last time I checked, Hawk was the one who killed Sturm. Hawk was the one who killed Sturm in front of the commanders and said, "Hey guys, I am now in charge." Well, we come to Dual Strike and Hawk suddenly isn't in charge anymore, and he doesn't even seem to know why. He doesn't know who the new leader is. What happened? Did he just forget about his position? Did he just walk out of the headquarters to take a stroll, and when he came back the door was locked? I mean, who would just give away their leadership like that? We do not know anything about Von Bolt. His description is literally that he was an elderly CEO who escaped the nursery home. I mean, it's like the game isn't even trying. It is basically laughing at itself, saying, "Oh, we could never top Sturm, so we're just gonna place this old fart on the throne because he's never gonna be as cool as Sturm. So yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll just give him a ridiculous backstory and just make him the villain." I mean, I always thought that Hawk would be the villain in the sequel to Advanced Wars 2. Like, Hawk would be the big commander. I mean, that would make sense, right? But no, he's sort of just a side character. And that just grinds my gears so much, because they never explain how it happened. The only thing Hawk says is that he rose to fill the vacuum of power that Sturm left behind. Didn't Hawk fill the vacuum of power that Sturm left behind? This is the one thing I've never understood about the story. It's almost like the developers of Dual Strike didn't play through the campaign in Advanced Wars 2. It's like they were just given some notes about what happened, and they decided to just go ahead and make up a story that had no connection to the prequels. So yeah, there's a lot of things about the story that really pisses me off. And there's also one thing, and this really should be mentioned. Why did they bring back the clones? I mean, the clone from Advanced Wars 1 was sort of the thing that they tried to forget. Oh no, they cloned Andy. And then they decide to go ahead and make clones play a major role in the story. It just baffles my mind, really, how they can do that. Because the clone idea was stupid to begin with, and it should never have gotten introduced to the Advanced Wars series. I remember my disappointments when Lash and Adder, no wait, I'm saying Lash and Adder. Lash and Hawk joins the rest of the commanders when they get kicked out of Black Hole, and then suddenly Olaf attacks. And I thought, holy crap, this is amazing. You know, Olaf attacks them because Lash destroyed his hometown. We finally get some, you know, continuity. I can't say that word properly. We finally get some story here, because of course Lash invaded Olaf's hometown, she destroyed his city, she probably killed his friends, and now they're letting her in to the allied nations. It would make sense for Olaf to go batshit crazy and attack his allies. But no, it was just an Olaf clone. That was the story. It was just random, it was just an Olaf clone. And I thought to myself, my god, what a spoiled opportunity this was. Imagine how awesome it would be if Olaf actually went rogue and betrayed his allies in pure frustration and rage over the fact that they are housing the villain that destroyed his family. And he could probably have brought Grit and Colin along with him and caused a major splits among the allied nations, causing Blue Moon to attack Orange Star yet again, thus giving Black Hole a super opportunity to take advantage of the chaos. It would be amazing. But they completely missed out on this opportunity, and that really annoys me. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to talk about regarding the story. So yeah, just to quickly sum it up, there's no continuity, there's no continuation of the story. A lot of commanders don't get featured, they hardly even appear. The new Black Hole villains are stupid, we don't get to see what happened to the old ones. There's no explanation on why Hawk isn't in charge. And the entire story just sucks balls. I'm sorry, Black Hole is draining the Earth of its energies. I mean, how silly is that? It's like a bad Captain Planet spin-off. Alright, well... Okay, now that I talked about the story element, and yes, I do get riled up over this because I'm so enthusiastic about this game that I get angry when I see people destroying it with stupidity. Anyway, now that I've talked about the story of Dual Strike, let's talk about the gameplay mechanics and what Dual Strike did wrong. Of course, it has to be mentioned that the main mechanic of the game is Dual Strike, which means you can play as two commanders at the same time. While I understand why this could, have seemed a good idea on paper, like a tag battle with two commanders, this breaks the game in so many different ways. Because they apparently didn't think about the broken combinations that would be, for example, I don't know, Colin and Combi, where you buy units with Colin and then switch over to Combi. The broken combination of Eagle and Sammy, where you could basically move a transport copter, use Eagle's Dual Strike, give the copter an extra turn, unload the infantry, switch over to Sammy, get the superpower, and then capture the enemy HQ. You could do this literally halfway across the map, and there's nothing the opponent can do to stop it. The Dual Strike simply offers too much power in a single turn, which really causes an imbalance. I suppose they really wanted to add something strong that would trump the superpower, but in my opinion, you shouldn't really have a gigantic power boost in a turn-based strategy game. In my opinion, I think certain superpowers from Advanced Wars 2 are too strong, and they should be toned down. I really enjoyed the simplistic power of Advanced Wars 1, where the power gave you a little bit of an edge, but it wasn't game-breaking. It didn't shift the battle totally in your favor, it just gave you a push in the right direction. Superpowers shouldn't change the game. They should just give you an edge. That's all. So I've always not been a big fan of superpowers like Samurai Spirit, Overdrive, Max Blast, Hyper Upgrade. I think it's too much power in a single turn, and it really fucks up the game balance. So yeah, I don't like the Dual Strike. I think it's a bad mechanic that needs to go, and it just doesn't work. The other thing I don't like about Dual Strike's game mechanic is the fact that there's so many new stupid units that simply doesn't work. I mean, they either work or they're too powerful, but they simply just doesn't fit. Like the Black Bomb, basically a portable missile that you can blow up in the middle of the enemy army to do 5 hit points of damage to a large area. And what's even more silly about the Black Bomb is, for example, if you play a commander like Colin, who gets a 20% discount on all units, you can basically buy Black Bombs at a much cheaper price, but they aren't any worse because the only thing Colin gets is a reduced in firepower, which means that you could basically play Colin and you could spam Black Bombs to your heart contents, which is why like, units that deal hit point based damage do not really belong in a turn-based strategy game, because it all revolves around firepower. I mean, I personally think the missiles in Advanced Wars 2 is as far as you can go. A one-time missile that could blast the enemy for 3 hit points of damage. I like the missiles, but I think that's as far as you can go. And don't even get me started on Rachel's superpower that fires 3 missiles. Yes, basically a meteor strike. Very good job right there. Alright, so what more do I not like about Dual Strike? Well, the music is terrible. If you just open up a YouTube browser, type, for example, Colin's theme, Dual Strike, and compare it to Colin's theme from Advanced Wars 2. Just listen to the difference. The quality is off the hooks in Advanced Wars 2. The music sounds very good. Yet in Dual Strike, it sounds like a parody of its former self. Another thing that I also don't like about the Dual Strike is the angle. It gives me a headache. In Advanced Wars 1 and 2, you see things straight from the... like, you can see down on the battlefield, like we can see just now. In Dual Strike, you kinda... it's very difficult for me to actually explain it. You look sideways and down. This is a small issue, of course, and something that you can get used to, but it really bugs me a lot, because I actually think it ruins a lot of the simplicity with the graphics, and it kind of tries to give it a 3D feel, while it really shouldn't have. Alright, so that being said, that's most of my gripes with Dual Strike. But I could also, of course, say a lot of good things about Dual Strike. The skill system is amazing. They've balanced some of the unbalanced COs, like Kombai. I think there's a lot of new good maps, as well as they also improved the AI, so that it actually provides a challenge, unlike in this game. So yes, the Dual Strike did something right. However, the things they did wrong completely overshadowed the other things and really made the game suck. And it really did flop. I mean, you can just go look it up. Google Advanced Wars Dual Strike sales, and you will see that it didn't sell well compared to Advanced Wars 2. It really was deemed a flop. Alright. So that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk about concerning Dual Strike and why I don't like the game. So now, I'd like to talk about the potential upcoming new Advanced Wars game and what I hope it will bring. Now, first of all, I really hope that they go back to the cartoony look of Advanced Wars 1 and 2 and Dual Strike. I really hope that they're not going to try to continue down the Days of Ruin path, just because I think it's alienating a lot of their fan base. I'm not saying that that everyone shares my opinion on this. There are probably people who will go like, "Yay, another Days of Ruin gameplay," but to be quite honest, I think that it would disappoint a lot of people if this were the case. I think what they need to do is they need to go back to Omega Land. They need to kind of forget that Dual Strike ever existed. And this is why I have, in my opinion, a pretty solid idea for the next upcoming Advanced Wars game. Now, I posted about this in the Reddit thread, and this is my suggestion. My suggestion for the next upcoming Advanced Wars game is called Advanced Wars Retro. Yes. After playing a lot of Super Famicom Wars, I've been very inspired, and I think that they could take a lot of good concepts from Super Famicom Wars and add it into their next game. So, what is Advanced Wars Retro? Well, it's a game that takes place before Advanced Wars 1. Now, that may sound strange, you think, but think about it. In Advanced Wars 1 and 2, we are constantly hinted about past events that happened before Advanced Wars 1. Back when Max, Olaf, Grit, Nell, and I think, yeah, those four were in an Orange Star under the leadership of Hachi. And what I really want to see is a story explaining exactly how Blue Moon was formed, how Olaf came to be in command of Blue Moon, how Grit left Orange Star to join Blue Moon, and, you know, just the whole story involving that. You know, just to see young Grit, young Max, and young Nell, like in the position that Sammy and Andy are in Advanced Wars 2, fighting together, and then we see this internal split where Blue Moon is formed. I think there's a lot of story to go on right there. Maybe Drake shows up and he's a pirate, because it says in a CO description that he's rumored to be a pirate. He could be like a pirate cruising the waters, harassing people, and then you could meet all of these cool commanders like young Kombai when he's still the pupil of Sensei, for example, before Sonya is even born. There's a lot of good potential right there, and I think that Advanced Wars Retro would be a really cool game. And the good thing about Retro is that they could just completely forget about Dual Strike, because, you know, it takes place in the past, so they could just forget anything about that. And it could borrow a lot of mechanics from Super Famicom Wars. First of all, I'd love to see the old feel of Super Famicom Wars. The good old graphics, the clunky units would be really cool, because it's like a visit to the past, and Super Famicom Wars is a very old game. Of course, it would have to be new in terms of mechanics and such, but I think that that would be amazing. We could have fuel trucks instead of APCs, but we could have APCs that could shoot, just like in Super Famicom Wars. We could have battleships capable of attacking air units. We could have artillery anti-air, which is like a reduced version of the missiles. We could borrow a lot of cool elements from Super Famicom Wars. But one of the things I really think should be done is introducing the experience promotion system, where units can actually level up and get experience. And that, in my opinion, would be amazing. Because after playing Super Famicom Wars, I can say that getting experience or your units makes the gameplay a lot more valuable. It makes it a lot more fun, because you actually want to save your units. You want to send them back for repairs. You want to keep them alive, because you kind of grow attached to them as they level up. And that is exactly the kind of mechanic an Advance Wars game needs. I mean, imagine just having a rocket that levels up and it becomes level 3, and then suddenly it becomes under attack, and you try to defend it. It just gives the battle a lot more. It just makes it more valuable. That's all I can say, really. So I really enjoy the promotion system, and I think it should be incorporated. Another thing which I really think Super Famicom Wars did well was the fact that units fire at each other simultaneously. Whereas in the later games, the attacker goes first, and then the defender can retaliate, which of course means it becomes a game about attacking first. In Advance Wars 1 and 2, as well as in Dual Strike, and probably in Days of Ruin as well, the attacker wins. Plain and simple. Unless something is very wrong, the attacker always wins. So having the mechanics altered in such a way that the units fire simultaneously will really change the flow of the game. And it will make the game better, in my opinion, because it makes it a lot more balanced. It doesn't become as lopsided. So I think that's definitely something that should be incorporated. Is that all I wanted to talk about? I suppose so. Also, yes, some more ideas, actually. More buildings, different kinds of cities. Instead of just having one city, how about having your average cities, and then having villages that are easier to capture and give less money, and then you can have metropolises, or metropoli, I don't know how you say that in plural, but you can have metropolis, which gives more income, but is harder to take. Like, it could have 25 hit points, so it's more difficult to capture, but easier to defend. So, and also introduce forts, the buildings from Super Famicom Wars that actually had 5 defense, military bases that are placed in strategic locations that are easy to defend. Just have a lot of different buildings. Introduce the comm towers from Dual Strike as well, the building you capture to get more firepower. I think that was a great idea. Just have a lot of different structures. Throw in a lab. Give the players the ability to capture labs that can get prototanks. I don't know, maybe not get them for free, but maybe the lab can actually build prototanks for a price, which are like Neotanks maybe, just not as silly. So, there's a lot of things they could do. I just hope they don't screw it up. And I would love to be on the development team that designs the new Advance Wars games. I have so many ideas, and I think I could actually contribute a lot. So part of the reason why I'm making this video is just to give my ideas and thoughts on Advance Wars, and I really, really hope that the next Advance Wars games, which I'm pretty sure will come out soon, not soon, but it will come out one time in the future, is going to be a good Advance Wars game. That it's not going to make the same mistakes as Dual Strike, and that it's going to return Advance Wars to the golden days of 1 and 2, which I really think was the golden days. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. It was a lengthy vlog. I think Andy's about to win here. So yeah, I'll just stop talking now, and I'm just gonna let the battle play out in case you want to see it. So yeah, my name has been Manx, and I'll see you next time. Bye.